Hey. Okay.
To somebody better than us, actually, that would be my goal.
Ah,
It's a pretty nice place on the hill.
Thank you, thank you. We think so too, but I'm accepting my limitations.
You do have a lot on your plate.
Yes.
Mike was very sad.
Hmm?
Mike was very sad when I told him.
Well, I hope that whoever buys it takes it to the next level.
Yes,
It's a full-time and a half job and I don't have even full.
yeah, that's what I told him. I said, she's got a lot on her plate.
Yeah, we've had a showing, some folks who are from here, moved to Texas and want to come back. And my son said, you know, are you gonna be picky about who you sell it to? And I said, I get less picky every day. But if somebody came in and said they were gonna tear it up, I would not sell it to them. And these folks were excited about the murals and asked if it was haunted. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yes, I want somebody who will appreciate what it is.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, so Sam suggested I buy it, and he said only if people are okay with a menu of hot dogs and beans.
Well, that's part of the reason we need to get out of it, because I'm not a chef. But if you're a chef, there's money to be made.
all right, 6:04. Call the meeting to order. And first on the agenda, public comment. No
guess.
public, all right. All right, second review of the meetings from the 12th, or minutes from the 12th. Yeah, I would just mention on number 5 there, that we're talking about the warrants at the town meeting on March 16th.
Right, one second.
Yeah, this was the only thing I was thinking of, might clarify. And also on number 4, that the PowerPoint issue was not so much that it was wasted, they wouldn't allow it, right?
No, they won't, they don't want PowerPoints, but the PowerPoints on the, we were thinking of leaving it on the chairs. They're
I
pretty
see,
clear,
okay.
nobody would want that either,
Oh, I see, okay.
because I think Russ was saying
It
that.
wasn't a broadcast, it was just a leaving, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
You can't handle?
No, you can hand out, but I think Russ's point was that you lose people after 2 pages, so if you put a PowerPoint on the
Yeah, the
seat, then it would be a waste of paper.
starting fuel for the.
Yeah, okay, I mean, but yeah, I think.
That's what it was.
But it's allowable.
You can leave the handout, yes,
Put some pictures there.
But you couldn't.
Yeah.
but you can't do
No
a projected.
Yeah,
right.
PowerPoint.
But we talked about
Are we-
doing small versions of the plan with the different options on it, right? For the handout.
You do poster board?
Post-
Yeah.
Something.
Big poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can do that.
Yeah.
And you can do it like out in the hallway or along the edge of the.
Well, I was thinking like if you have a really big one, you can put it before the crowd or whatever. Pop it up. Things come up and.
Yeah.
Thing from
Alright.
the-
But does that change the minutes?
So, okay, so now that I found it, I couldn't find it before for some reason. You said, Peter, on number 5, you were answering the question.
I was just, I would
Clarifying.
specify that was the warrants at the annual meeting that was being discussed there. I just, we know, we remember, but I just thought.
Okay, yeah, I put it in blue for the question on. And then on number 4, you just.
How is that gonna work out? Is that, are the reports coming first? Or I've forgotten what you yellow told.
And in number three,
Yeah.
well, I have information on that.
Yeah, we can talk
From
about
the
that.
select
Yeah,
board
okay.
meeting, yeah.
Oh, even I ignored it.
Oh, because it's an actual word.
Word tried to
There
tell.
was a word,
Yeah.
record, which could be record, yeah, other than that.
Yeah.
Any further?
I had that question in blue under number 3
Yeah.
at the end,
Yeah, I'd just get rid of the.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't know. what it's like. Okay,
Under 3. Fourth paragraph down, Cauldron is getting the rest of the cost. And the second line, the reality is there for the record, it says.
Yeah, we got that.
Oh,
You
good.
just did that. You did that.
Oh, I was reading something else.
okay, I have the word. Everybody found it. I was just checking to see if you guys.
Yeah. What it says, the numbers can also be expressed in the range for the purposes of the town hall.
Oh, town meeting. Sorry.
I'm not sure I understand the sentence just before the bold. This would be another positive as it helps preserve green spaces and not to have to worry about aquifers.
Oh, I put two sentences together. Somebody was saying that the green space was a good thing, but I guess there's an aquifer issue in the new.
Well, yeah,
Splitting,
it really did make sense with the conversation because we were discussing that when Clay brought up the fact that the grant would be very effective in the sense that we wouldn't be moving the highway, we preserve Kildini. And there's aquifers down there. Which
So I could just
which
say
we don't have an
green spaces.
aquifer
Not to
here.
worry about aquifers on the new site
Yeah,
Right.
or on
Yeah.
the
Not to have an issue.
other site.
Basically, restoring green fields.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay.
By not developing the Slavonian land.
Right. Because it's on an aquifer. Here
Yeah,
we
and
don't,
it's-
here we don't, so it's.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there someone have clarification on the
You
blue
just told me
text
to
that
delete it.
Dan? said?
You said it's just let it go.
This blue text could. go,
Oh, that one, okay.
Right.
I thought you were saying that
And
one.
then the Dan one,
Yeah, he's not here. I don't know what I don't know what he was
base
talking about.
cost for exposure to run numbers.
I just,
He's at Danny's husband.
Yeah,
yeah,
we can ask him when he gets here.
it may not, be. I think he was, I don't think he was gonna go to
I'm not sure.
base cost for exposure. Yeah, I don't know what he was saying. It might not be relevant. At the time, I thought it was.
Story of our lives, right?
2024 has not been friendly to my family, so I'm.
A lot of families it hasn't been better, so. Kind of a bust. Who'd have thought? Anything could be worse in 2020.
Can I ask you one thing, Heidi,
Yes.
in that very first sentence? Says, Leonard Sutter should be a little more open. What is that referring to? There should be a general cross-section note with options and timings of when things should occur. Leonard Sutter should be a little more open. What does that refer?
He didn't want us to put in the timing. He wanted if people wanted to
Oh.
do it in a year.
I see. Less constrained. Okay.
And then the discussion circling back really clarifies, I think, what everybody meant, that there should be a sequence diagram for how things have to be done, but whether that happens in 1 year or over a span of years is an option.
Gotcha. Okay.
So are we gonna put this here? Are we gonna put this as one of our handouts?
Something this or a version that reads easily or condensed version or something needs to go in, yes, some sort of, a cost benefit thing, yeah,
I should have touched that.
but that's not in the minutes either.
Do you want me to? I wasn't sure if you wanted me to put that in the minutes. or if you wanted to work on it and then have that go in the minutes, so.
I'll tell you what, I'll make a motion, we accept the heavily amended minutes. On favor, aye.
Aye. All opposed,
I thought we were waiting for that.
all right.
You lost it, boo.
Yeah.
So,
And there, new business, I went to the select board meeting on must have been the 13th. These were the 12 minutes, yeah. Just to hear what they were talking about with the highway garage, just to make sure everything's all kosher there. And, one of the items that they brought up was that the Southwest Regional Planning Commission that's going to be doing the traffic study requested that a committee be formed that they can deal with.
Just to let everybody know, it's called Safe Streets or Safe Streets.
Okay. And,
It's got a grant that goes, yeah, make sure you. They're executing they're also getting a grant. It's CAC, it's under CAC.
right.
That committee.
Isn't this,
I think
wouldn't
it's
the CAC be the committee that would be handling?
No, they wanted a separate entity to deal with them in the study.
They created a task force.
Yeah.
Kent's on it. They've asked me to.
Yeah.
just-
So I called Peter, lacking any, and said, hey, you want to get in touch? Because I knew that you had been kind of our in on the traffic study stuff
And I've gone to
previously.
their meetings and.
So I just said,
So you're our delegate.
I'm gonna
so,
do that.
yeah,
so I got distracted by all the finger thing, what's it called?
It's called Safety Streets.
Safety.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get more details. on
Okay.
it, But
Um,
we'll get an update. They have a meeting on March 11th at 3:30 in the afternoon here.
I just wanted to make sure that we had representation on that committee and that hopefully
Good thinking.
what they do serves our purpose here as well.
Ezel's on it.
So, yeah.
Kent Perry's on it, so the broad spectrum.
So
Individual.
anyway, I asked Peter to be our representative.
Thank you.
And
I hope you're.
Are you gonna be-
Thank you,
Or
Jim.
just
No.
Thank you.
Jim, can I just say one other thing that, just in terms of the warrant article that you listened to? You know that Billy Zell, it's 2 for and 1 against, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
And
Remember what Zell said?
and Bill, basically what he said was that he was not going to vote in favor of the warrant article because we said we could do it for nothing.
Right.
In front, he said he was not going to recommend it as a select board member because we said we could do it for nothing. However, he also said that he expected he would vote for the warrant.
No, okay. Because the money was to preceding the report.
Right.
We're asking for money for further.
Yeah.
Well, we would have asked money if
Yeah.
Russ hadn't donated his.
Yeah.
I didn't feel any
Yeah,
need
right,
to
right.
push back
No,
because
I
it
just-
was, it was recommended by the select board to one. It's going
I
forward,
just,
you know.
it's a good idea to have that in the record here. This is the guy that, remember how we called us all, what do you call it, Yahoos?
I'm not gonna say that he was gonna vote for the warrant.
Bunch of Yahoos. Bunch of Yahoos.
Yeah, redneck yahoos.
180 to 70.
Yahoos.
180 was something. Yeah, ended up in that tree, throwing all that stuff down.
So, and the other thing of interest from that select board meeting was, as you alluded to, they had to put an agenda item or I guess it's not actually a warrant, right?
Yeah.
That
To hear the
to put
report.
in order to hear reports.
Right,
So-
and the order they have it in,
And they did.
Has to be the
is,
first item.
is the first item prior to the budget.
Right.
And then they have our petition article last.
Because of the petition.
I guess that probably does.
That's the way, that's the way they always do it.
But it's, that's actually the proper order. It seems funny because we're the only one with a report or anything to present to the board, but we're at multiple groups. That would be the proper place to put it. So,
Don't you all agree that's probably great, that before everybody gets exhausted and bored and. You know,
but
they're there with a coffee, adrenaline still, and not like, what I'm trying to go. What's that?
They have to vote when they're bored,
Yeah,
exhausted, and many gone.
Right.
Can we-
But at least they clearly will listen to our report.
Can we, as has happened in the past, can we ask to have it, make a motion to have it moved up
We can,
to be concurrent with the report?
well, that's interesting. So,
Yeah, we can do that.
We sure can.
That's what we should do.
Yeah, and it's Helen too, when that happens.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, what could respond?
At the end of the day, when half the people are gone.
Gone, yeah. Yeah, we've done
Yeah, I
that.
like that idea. You propose that.
No, who's gonna do that?
Or you want to make a amendment.
Somebody would just have to make a motion that the petition warrant article be moved to.
Does that need a majority to approve?
That's simple majority vote.
Then we'll learn.
Sounds
I'm
good.
sure most people would go for it because it.
Oh.
okay.
So you guys all just gonna assume who's gonna do it, or is someone gonna say they're gonna do
Sounds like Bruce should do.
Yeah, once,
it? Okay,
it makes sense.
well, just make sure you don't wait too long.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not it, not it.
Bruce, when would you make a motion like that before the meeting? Before you speak about the report, or would you do it? I just didn't know what the protocol-
I
didn't know
would
what
say
the
before the
protocol was.
presentation of the report,
yeah,
or maybe right after.
At the beginning of the meeting.
Beginning of the meeting, when they start going on their agenda,
Mhm.
tell you what the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're gonna
point
have
of
the
order.
motion.
Move to amend the agenda.
Right, under the agenda.
You're gonna have the most control of the crowd before you start the report. That's when I would. do it.
But I think you're right, you gotta do it during the agenda, because that's when, any
You're
questions on
amending
the
the
agenda.
agenda.
So you want to, that statement of hearing all reports first on the agenda. Go down.
And then how would you justify moving it?
We've done
At
that.
the point,
Because they're like-
voted.
They logically go
Here's the
together.
justification, and we just like to vote right after.
Well, oh, yeah, it's. Makes sense that we're giving a report, and then it goes with that. It's fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
It's mutually exclusive articles. The report is mutually exclusive with our petition warrant.
And in your report, you can even say, that these are things we still need to investigate. So,
Yeah.
good idea.
Common sense to move it to be discussed.
Good, okay.
Yeah, but I would think the justification, it was a mandate in the last town meeting. You had a special meeting, and this item was, you have to do this for the next one. All these friends of Temple said, you gotta do it right away,
180, right?
so I think that was just the justification.
As well.
All right, cost benefit analysis update. Thank you for sending this out today. Hopefully everyone got a copy.
And just cleaned up some items and looked at a few totals, but
Right.
now we put the hard numbers in
I just
and
have
the TBDs,
2 questions for you.
okay?
In section option 3, you start with the B. I was just wondering if. On line 23.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was, I renumbered, or did something today. And, yeah, I think that's still good, but it's just A, B, C, and.
Okay, that's all right, and
But I
then,
will double check that I did not I was trying to fit things, but I may have deleted something.
And then on line 37, it looks identical to line 31. It kind of interrupts your ABCD. So I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, no, it's aligned to the page counter. This is what it looks like.
Oh, printing.
On your printer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. For your printer, gotcha. Oh, sorry. Option 4, there's two option 4s.
But you printed it on like one sheet?
Yeah, I made the width one sheet.
Yeah, so you reformat.
Threw off this
All
one.
bets are off when you reformat.
So reformat it and attach it to the minutes or leave it as
So,
is?
I mean, it's like once, this is for my convenience and, for your final presentation or how you put it, this is Word, this fits on a page.
Right, I was just gonna put it on the minutes as an attachment for the discussion, but I can make it. Okay, I'll make it, so it's just people don't question what that is. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand the opportunity cost. Or at least what's in the parenthesis after opportunity cost for options
We're all the same,
2, 3, and 4.
all the opportunity cost use.
But
Right, I mean, they all, if you don't do anything, if you don't do the option. Right? You gotta-
okay,
Mm,
I admitted them into the meeting, so the notice went away.
Yeah, but there's no picture of them, is there?
No, there won't be. You won't see them.
There are 3 participants.
Okay, I know, this is 33. This is third one. Us. Yeah, if you don't do the option. Right, so opportunity costs are like, if you don't do the option. What could you do with that money? Right, so it's always the same. If you didn't do it, you still have to take care of the existing structure. And make them work right. And do the renovations.
Well, I think this, looking at this, that's normally true,
Yeah.
but because you have to pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's irrelevant to this. Because if you don't pick 2, 3, or 4, you're picking 1 by definition. So all
That's
the
right.
costs are in there.
That's right. And
So you don't have to say it again in each option.
no, well, point is you have to carry the cost forward. If you don't identify what the cost is, it doesn't exist.
There's
But it's
It's zeroed out.
there's an opportunity cost in option 1.
Yeah.
Right. But the opportunity cost
Like take,
in
like take,
options 2, 3, and 4 are 0.
no, I mean, you still have to account for not doing that option.
But you account for not doing that option by picking a different option. That's why this is unique. That's why this
Yeah.
layout is unique, because you can't not pick one of the 4 options.
Okay.
And opportunity cost applies if you have the option of not picking anything. And that's not an option.
Option 1 is essentially not picking.
Not picking
anything.
anything.
Yeah.
So we've got that covered.
So I thought we were gonna actually we're not putting any dollars in anywhere.
Bruce has
Eventually,
2 days
there
left.
will be TBDs for,
Yeah,
Not
some of it's gonna
annual.
be TBDs,
Not-
some of it Bruce will have some numbers for.
Yeah, 90% there. They should take out the opportunity cost. We have time before the town meeting to get back together and discuss those costs.
I can,
Because
There's one more
gonna
meeting.
we're gonna pick ranges, we're gonna throw in here,
we
but
can,
now we're speaking.
we can
For
certainly
everybody.
schedule an out of cycle meeting in order to get prepped for the town meeting.
I think we should refine what we as a group want to say.
Right.
Here, and it's not just 2 people's opinion.
Right.
We have a scheduled meeting for March 11th.
Yes, which gives us, zero time before the town meeting essentially.
no.
Right, yeah. So it would be, I think it's probably beneficial to have one between like next week.
So you want one next Monday and then the Monday after?
Yeah, I don't know where it's gonna be, because I know that this room will be occupied,
Well,
but
And March 11th, they're gonna be in here like.
do you need to have the 12th?
Well, I was preparing for the election on the 12th. So I'm not sure how much. All afternoon.
I think we'll, whether we need the 12th will be determined by what we
Doing that thing.
see on next week,
11th.
the 11th, yeah. All right,
So just to go back to, we're gonna take out the opportunity cost of those three options. All right,
yes, I think so.
and just leave it
Um,
in one, option months.
And,
Let me give you a report about how close I am to having the
okay,
numbers, or is that not the right place or time to do that?
no, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah, so the sand shed, just waiting on concrete price. I wasn't gonna use the square footage cost on that, but Cutter was glad I didn't, because those walls have to be specially reinforced, because they can be pushed.
Yeah.
By the,
yeah,
so I
sand,
get loader, the sand,
or
so not, it's just not just a typical foundation, so I'm glad I didn't budget a number, but the other building, equipment shed, I was able to take a square footage based off the 40 by 42 bay. So anyway, so the sand, I was waiting on that concrete number. I have the material number and the framing labor number. So that's done. I have the electrical number. And he didn't break down by this building and that, so it's, I don't know how we're gonna do that, but I'm only really waiting on that number, and then the Mathewson company is gonna meet with me this week to do a demo number for
Great.
hauling and demoing,
Mhm.
even though we know that if we do this, it might be our own guys doing it.
yeah.
Well, the low end of the years. Right, so I'm really close. I got Wayne Dugas, I spoke with, they verbally gave me the number for the heating. Where else are we? Garage doors, I have the price, but he did the price for the equipment shed and the heated 40 by 40 together with
Okay.
labor, so he's gonna re-email me the quote, breaking them down.
Mm,
Cause we obviously have to put them down, so we're right there,
Yeah.
the numbers are right,
So what's just the cost of the electric?
40,000. Yeah, and that's burying underground, it's going all the way over here, that's,
So that's moving the service and
Yes.
all the new buildings?
yes, and the generators. It's a big number, but it's
Yeah.
a lot,
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I figured that would be.
big number, yeah, I knew it would be big, I didn't know if it would be that big, but there's a lot there too.
Well, I think Huntley and Canada said that we wouldn't have to do anything underground because we've got a hole right there.
Yeah, it's not what Grace Electric said, he didn't feel, he came,
Okay.
well, the property,
Right, yeah.
and he seemed to think that having separate services off those poles, it would make sense, they're close.
Right.
We can revisit it.
Yeah, no, I just mentioned it because I know that Canada said it, and Huntley had said it also, but there's no need because of the two poles.
I know, it doesn't make sense just to have a separate service there and 20 feet of underground conduit rather than
mhm.
hundreds. of feet of it.
Right.
We've got the big number. But we have the big number.
Yeah.
We know that it's gonna be less. I'd rather play it safe.
Yeah.
There's ways to.
Yeah.
Yeah, to,
Hopefully we get.
Okay,
you know, this is the gold plated version.
Yeah, you can take 80% of that.
so I
80% for a
think,
little bit.
I think that, one thing, like what's in the minutes, I think we should show a sequence diagram on
I love
each
that.
of the options, right? And, these two things have to be done together. This can follow. So that even if we don't have the a timeline, at least we have a sequence.
Yeah, but I'm thinking
How things could be broken
how they
up
can be
out
paid.
into different costs.
So all you have to do is go phase A, 1, 2.
Right.
Kathy?
Hi. Well, right. Kathy, we're discussing the cost benefit analysis chart that's that got sent out today. Yeah. And so far, we've reached a conclusion that only option 1 should have an opportunity cost associated with it. And we've decided we'd like to see a phasing diagram for each option, so that we could understand what has to be funded all at once in each of these options, or how we might phase funding.
I'm wondering if in phase 1 opportunity cost is even the right word for that. Because if you pick phase 1, you are signing up to keep repairing the cinder block building for 20 years.
Yeah.
You are signing up for, and maybe this is an opportunity cost, but the safety risk of the unattended stove. And whatever else,
Right. And
you know, degradation.
probably those maintenance funds in the current budget would. Well, there would actually be maintenance funds allocated in any of the other options as well, so, yeah, so you'd want to differentiate between those and what we're
I'm not,
ignore what I said.
I didn't type anything.
I just. Look at it, we've been working on this, look at all the discussion we've had about.
Yeah.
I think we have to simplify it for people to recognize.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, if you sign up for the current facility, you're signing up for, you know, $30,000 over the next 10 years to babysit the thing. You're signing up for, right, it's increased maintenance because of the, you know, new and shiny isn't gonna be maintenance right away.
There's 2,
But it's more than that. I mean, it's to bring it up to grade. That's like a one-shot deal. Maybe you're gonna pay for it over 30 years. And then, of course, you have to add the cost of money to that. So,
Yeah, so we should, I hadn't thought of that angle, we should state that. Major repairs. You're not renovating it, but
I
you
mean,
have
now,
to do major
you know, they were
repairs to
driving
bring it up
this
to
whole
speed.
thing. We have to move this garage. Cause we have to fix it. And then we could have all this space. And take virgin land and spend all that money, which wasn't gonna be a lot, because we could automatically get the matching funds, right?
We're gonna turn a profit on moving.
Honestly, magic something.
So, like, can you work with Dave on simplifying the language, I guess? I mean, it makes, you know, some of the terms are very actuarial, I guess, right? And,
yes, opportunity cost is
Right.
not a term that I.
yeah, and it's,
Affinity.
It's not in your daily vocabulary?
It's not my daily vocabulary. I'm like, what is an opportunity cost?
We can get a definition.
When we're,
and I've always heard of opportunity costs, like, in terms of, if I spend this money, I'm losing on this,
Right.
then I'm losing the opportunity to use that money to do something else
Exactly.
with,
Exactly.
right? And that doesn't necessarily come through in
I
that
would never have
description.
guessed that was,
That's what
I
opportunity.
mean, you know,
cost
so, you know, I don't spend, I can go out and take a bond out. I don't spend it. And I'm like, you know, 3%, 5%. And so that would be an immediate loss. And if you're gonna have a project and you have that cash on hand,
yeah,
so it's how to spend the cash on hand.
We have to speak to the people of the town and we've got to.
I thought the rule of thumb was something like. Do it like you're talking to an 8th grader.
So I thought it was 5th grade.
That's the game show.
I was just in a meeting last week where they're like, you have to write it like a 5th grader.
So why don't we do this? When we get the prices, we'll get together, do a draft next Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, let's do it, instead of doing a piecemeal, we'll just do it all at once.
Right.
In, an hour or two.
And we can, but we'll knock it out next month.
Yeah, we'll have a straw man with regard to.
Yep.
Next month.
Okay, very good.
One thing I was curious about there's more articles that to dissolve maintenance funds. Do you have a list of the warrant articles, Peter?
I don't.
I do.
think Bruce does.
The thing with to dissolve maintenance funds, I think for the municipal building and the highway garage, to dissolve two funds and combine them into one.
Yes, equipment.
It was with the fire
The
department.
VAC put that
Oh,
together.
yeah.
They put it together because they wanted to have more funds available for either opportunity. When they're separate, they're limited, let's say 20,000 to one and 30,000 to another. Suppose we have a 40,000 requirement for the fire truck.
Okay,
They can't do that because there's only 20 there. So, but combining the funds, they have more flexibility of applying it to either situation. Because one was for fire trucks and one was for highway. But that was the rationale.
was it just for equipment though?
Yeah, it's just for, I think
I
it's
thought
just
it
for,
maintenance too.
Discontinue highway department, maintenance, repair,
Yeah.
expendable trust.
that means,
Maintenance, repair.
yeah,
expendable.
maintenance is
What's-
repairs, maintenance of
There's
trucks.
$25,000.
Right.
Okay,
Also discontinue the fire department maintenance and repair expendable trust. They have about $16,000. 16,000. And then create a new highway and fire department vehicle and equipment trust.
okay, so it's just for vehicles and
Just for-
equipment,
yeah, I know, it's
okay,
confusing because they're saying
that's not clear. in
Right,
the first,
exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's not clear at all.
Yeah, it's not maintenance, physical maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the ones they want to discontinue actually
Do I need to put this in?
reference maintenance.
That's what I mean.
both- they
That-
both-
that-
The new one does not.
Yeah, I know, they,
Right.
don't they both reference maintenance?
They do.
I
They
think
reference maintenance, but
this
they
was-
don't.
we just say that the discussion on the warrant article.
I have no idea what they were.
Maintenance fund is a
Yeah,
impact
yeah,
that we have on.
And they
So-
engaged the VAC, that's how I just know about this. VAC committee, but there was no discussion, if I remember, about why they renamed it. But
So it actually reads to see if the town will discontinue the highway department vehicle and equipment maintenance and repair expendable trust. So that I interpret that as just vehicle,
Right.
not building.
So that's a different trust. It's a
Yeah,
different line, and it's not the highway department's.
It's not the $2,000 maintenance.
Yeah.
$1,000, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so the 24,000 we have in that account is not for painting and roofing and
It's for vehicles.
building maintenance. It's just-
No, if it were, then
That would-
Kent wouldn't have had to go out and get money for a garage door,
Right,
right?
sure,
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
good point.
But that wouldn't be in that trust because it would only be for vehicles.
So both of the trusts are for maintenance of for vehicles.
For
The
vehicles.
way I interpret those, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're
The
both.
budget combining
One
the
for
two.
fire, one's-
But
They
they
have
want to
the
create
option.
one combined.
So they can use more money if for an emergency.
Getting-
That's really what. it-
Getting more for
I
the
get that.
fire
but it's-
department.
But I,
No, it's-
okay,
At what
Right.
point are all the warrant articles need? So I wanted to listen.
They just-
They are.
They are now. They have been for a week or so.
yeah,
Okay.
Well, they just sent them out today via an email, if you're on the town's email,
yeah.
they just sent them all out today.
They did, okay.
Yeah.
You can see them when they're even.
Okay,
Thank you for clarifying that.
anything further anyone has on the cost benefit worksheet? I know that we,
So are we thinking that we're gonna take the cost benefit analysis and do more like a Venn diagram where if we do this, this happens, or are we gonna include this as part of the handout? Once we have actual numbers.
I think I would include this as part of the handout. The various options would be explained by the drawings.
Okay,
Um,
Then you have a time phase chart.
and then
Breakdown
the
for each option.
phase chart that would needs to accompany this.
Okay.
Would show. We need funds for phase A in 1 year. And the funds for phase B of option 2.
Yeah.
Right? Would need to occur in either that year and we could accomplish it all at once or some later year, right? You know, kind of thing. So.
Did your estimate get time to construct the all this? They went straight out.
No, well, not necessarily, no. Each subcontractor, the time they would need to build,
Right, I mean, so if you had like, 3 buildings in the worst case, we have 3 structures that have to go up. I mean,
if it all happened all at once.
right, so, yeah, I mean.
The money was,
How
the
long
money
did
was
it-
there.
would-
Yeah, the crews that I know would frame that 40 by 40 2-bay heated, they'd frame that up and have the roof on and
Was that
in
summer?
a week.
Okay, so.
Because you have to do that before you can take down the cinder.
Right, yeah, and then you get mechanicals in there, you know. you
Yeah, I
get
think that's what people need to
electrical heating guy,
understand.
and then the garage door guy. And the side, somebody to side it, so,
So that's the summer to put that up.
I would say it doesn't mean this building, this carriage shed could be being
Right, but you wouldn't get
done
the
at the same
parking
time.
lots spots until the cinder block thing was gone, so.
No major excavation. Right, I mean, there's site work, but there's not a heck of a lot of digging that can be
No.
done out there. You're gonna build up anything.
So I mean,
Yeah.
usually can you get it done in the summer, right, when, over the summer? And.
I would bet 3
And if you
months.
can, then, then you can do it over multiple summers or something.
Be a GC for a town thing.
We didn't, in 2000, when we built the current heating garage. I think that the crew, the highway department crew just GC'd it themselves. And when they've got into the select,
What is GC mean?
I don't.
Like if
Yeah.
someone has to be like fully.
License.
That's that, I think things have changed in the selectman's office and now we're required, I believe, to get 3 bids. So in other words, the framing crew that would come in to potentially put the building up, then we'd have to get 3 bids. That way you're not playing favoritism. So you'd have to get 3 electrical bids, 3 heating bids, 3. 3 of everybody. But that's my understanding, but the selectmen could confirm that.
But for our purposes, we've got a ballpark figure and we can look at that.
So for visual purposes.
Yeah, so we.
Your sequence diagram, I'll put it out to 2.
Yeah.
It might be, block, build 2-bay garage,
Mhm.
and under it, $40,000 in 3 months. Pointing to demo cinder block building, 2 months. 20,
No,
10 to $30,000 or whatever.
I don't think we need to define timelines at this point.
But it's not timelines, it's how long, about how long does it take to build it?
Right.
Now, those 2 events, one's gonna take 1 month, 3 months, one's gonna take about 2 months. Can be done in a year or can be done in 5 years. You can do one, wait 4 years and do the other one.
Yeah.
So in terms of budgets, that's a completely separate issue, but that block has to be done in a year. And that block doesn't.
Right,
has
I
to be
wasn't-
done in a
I
year.
didn't
Doesn't
mean-
necessarily need to
Yeah,
be the
I
same.
just meant, I don't think we need to worry about how long it's gonna take for each individual phase, because that's gonna be subject to the contractors when they're available,
Weather
know,
conditions.
weather conditions. I mean, rather than locking ourselves in that tightly.
I think it means that there is an appropriation for this much money that has to happen at some point,
For this.
and then an appropriation for this much money that has to happen at another point, and those could be the same point.
Yeah.
But, there are 2 different. Could be 2 or 3 different appropriations in order to make the.
Somehow we have to figure out graphic. Put right in front of something.
Yeah.
That, there is a time span here
Mhm.
that can be short, it can be long, it's up to you, but each block is in a fiscal year.
Mhm. Mhm.
Could be the same fiscal year, but each one has, this block can't practically spread 2 years. two budgets. I mean, you're not gonna realistically build a building in two budgets.
No,
Right?
no, no, but I could, for instance,
I'll go with that. No reason why a building
but I,
couldn't be built within a couple months.
but I could
So what?
appropriate.
But if you wanted 30 grand, you wouldn't appropriate 15 this year and 15 next year.
Yeah.
Well, you could do an expendable, you could do you could have the money set aside. You could say, we're gonna build this building in 5 years. And we'll take out X amount of dollars
Now,
to reach that goal and put it in a trust for the next 5 years to ease the taxpayers.
To do that, right.
Yeah, you know, rather than hit you with a,
That's kind of after, after we've given our presentation, those are all the details that we'll suss out once we,
In the forums.
once we
Those are
find out. what
recommendations
people-
for next year.
Right,
Correct.
well, that's what's gonna come after we've given our.
right, so then we don't really have to go phases. We just say it can be done.
it can be done.
Details TBD.
Well, I think it's good to list the options, that we have different options, and then, I think logically speaking, people are gonna recognize that this would be a phased project. We can do it all at once, or we can do it piecemeal. If the town decides they wanna do anything at all.
Right.
Yeah, definitely don't want to give the impression that you have to jump in with both feet at the
Exactly.
beginning of an option 2, 3, or 4
And get it all done.
and say, we're gonna raise your taxes by this much all in one big jump, right? In order to fund.
And,
something.
and that's based on the fundamental thesis, the garage works just fine. So I mean, we're not. We don't.
Yeah, fundamentally,
No emergency.
we have
No emergency
flexibility
where we have the.
rather than having to jump in all at once with both feet.
I guess my point is not to get mired down in the details, because those,
Agree, because we don't have them.
we don't have, we don't know what people wanna do, so,
You know,
let's not pigeonhole ourselves.
what are they doing with the old money that they had in trust? Sorry.
Well, that brings up another point.
Did they have a warrant for that? Did we rescind it?
So I personally believe that it would be appropriate to certainly say, and there is X number of thousands of dollars that have been set aside for the relocation of the highway garage that's in trust that could be used to offset X amount of cost for keeping the garage in place with the vote of the town, right?
Well, and again, grants from a municipality, you have to have matching funds. So that could be, if we were to apply, if the town were to vote to do something, and we applied for a grant for $250,000, they want us to pony up $250,000.
Be used
So that could be,
for matching funds for a grant.
I believe it's dollar over dollar.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure. it
So
depends.
anything can be rescinded or, I shouldn't say any. I think an article, previous money article, well, look, they're doing it this year, we are doing it this year. We're proposing to take those trusts
Yeah, but maybe.
and dissolve them and put them into another trust. So it makes sense that
And it doesn't say it takes.
Nobody said they're gonna turn that money back to the general fund.
Well, all you need is a simple majority to rescind it.
to rescind an article and then
That was the
and
article.
vote to have that money be available.
Right, but I mean,
For not just relocating.
right, unless you bring it up as a floor item, it's not gonna be talked to according to this agenda, right?
Correct. Understanding that there are sources of funds. I'm not gonna go up there and promise, this isn't gonna cost you anything.
Yeah.
And your taxes are only gonna go up by negative 14 cents, right? I mean, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
But we are certainly able to go up and say, there are sources of funding, some of which are already established. For the purposes of relocating the garage. That could offset any costs associated with any option that you all decide on moving forward. And that we've identified grants for preserving Greenfield that were not identified previously for the update of the highway garage, right? That those funds could go toward securing. So those are all things that are perfectly valid for
We
bringing
gotta
up.
see if we can ID those grants, though.
What's that?
We have to see if we can ID those grants. They haven't been ID'd yet, so before we can talk about it.
Like, yeah, I mean, at our last meeting, we said,
I was talking to Shaheen. I haven't got a response yet, so just don't
Yeah.
know.
sure,
They can be.
should those,
They can be
should those
very-
grants be identified before the meeting?
Well, should they not be identified? Next year, the funded group can
Mhm.
figure them out, right?
Yeah,
Well, so then you're just saying there are potential.
Yes.
yeah.
It's rumored there are potential, because you can always say it's.
But it'd be good.
It's rumored there are
some data
potential funds
to justify.
for saving
Yep.
the environment.
You know, and I don't know, you know. Grants are great, but somebody's paying for them, you know,
Well,
you're paying for them through state taxes or federal taxes or something.
pocket, they're the right one.
You're just spreading the pain. Yeah. Mhm.
Are we gonna try to put numbers on the benefits? Because if that's on me, I have no clue. how to-
No, because a lot of these benefits are very subjective.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things that we wanted to hold the forums, the surveys for next year to have the you know, just to go out and say, okay, you know, how much Temple resident do you think, you know, would you be willing to contribute toward having a parking lot where there is now a sand pile, right? Those kinds of things we need to go out and ask the town, and then based on the response to our surveys, our forums, then you can say, you know, we have this data from the town that says that the subjective value of doing this is $30,000. And, you know, so that should come into the benefit side of the column, right? But that has to happen next year.
Yeah, again, you know, and sticking with our warrant article, we're presenting a report. That's what we're doing.
So.
We do get out of those all sometimes.
So I mean,
Yeah,
these are
well,
like all PDs.
Careful not to get ahead of ourselves. We need to keep it simple, stupid, and do what we're supposed to do. And, you know, I think there's some logical conclusions that people can draw, including the fact that there is, you know, $249,800 in one fund and 33,000 in another fund, that if the town decides they want to move forward one way or another, then they can make the decision to, you know, reallocate that money, but that's not our task.
Right. That's right.
So outlining the report. So let's talk about what we're going to report. Outline. Suggestions.
It's a very short note.
Jim, I read the annual report that you did for the
Mhm.
town report, and I thought it was great, very succinct and to the point, and I think it's our perfect lead-in.
Yeah, so I think that, yes, right, I mean, I like that approach, kind of, here's what we said we wanted to do this year. And why, and then, you know, the requirements, you know, you know, the things we did to establish the requirements. Coming up with some options that we as a group in our general conversations around town have think might be beneficial modifications to the site, even though not modifying the site is certainly an option because it meets our requirements. And then the cost benefit analysis, and then it's a what do we need to do yet to bring options to you moving forward, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, we can also, is it better to say less and let the taxpayers ask questions? versus throwing out a whole bunch of information that they're not necessarily going to be able to absorb in a very short period of time.
I think that the whole point of this committee was to actually come with something solid because we weren't given a lot of solid information, so I think there has to be more than less, because then you're in the same position you were when they said we were gonna move.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Do we have to move? Do we not? So I think,
Well, okay, so I think you just, if you want audience participation, that's a good thing, right? So the MC would go say, we have a lot of information here. I can give you a 20,000 foot view. And then open the floor to questions.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that in the package of paperwork on your chair, when you walked in here today. Is our requirements, is our cost benefit analysis, is all the options diagrams, right? And then, as you said, give the 20,000, 30,000.
So I want
view
you
of
essentially
of
right.
that.
You know, we looked at the problem, we got the requirements, we proposed solutions. We did the analysis of the costs and benefits for each one. And so this is what we expect for the future. To have forums,
Right.
to quantify the TBDs that are most of the opportunity, the good things, the benefits that we derive from.
Seems to me any discussion or argument that we present needs to focus on feasibility. You know, why is it feasible and how is it feasible? And because that's in the warrant there, and I think that's a key definition of our presentation.
Yeah, well,
Right, well, and then when we went through the requirements, we did the feasibility.
Right, I'm just saying.
doing
Why is it
nothing is
feasible?
feasible, right?
Yeah.
They can meet the requirements of a highway garage, we
Yeah,
can
that-
do
that-
nothing.
Yeah, that one stated as your summary too,
Right.
doing nothing. You know,
Well,
whether that's
option
acceptable,
one. Yeah,
Mhm.
option one is to do nothing.
and whether that's acceptable to the town, you know, but now I open it up for discussion, right? We have
Well, I think that
How much is a parking lot worth? How much is aesthetics worth? How much is, right, all those benefits, right?
Before we jump to that, I think front and center, one of the first points that need to be made. This location is viable into the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Because that was not presented a year ago.
Right.
That's true.
This is not a viable location.
Mhm.
And I think it needs to be made clear that the first thing we looked at is this viable at all?
Yeah.
And yes, it's very viable.
Right.
How elegant you make it is debatable. But
Yep.
it is a viable location.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is adequate, but not ideal,
That's
As is.
as is.
Well, as it, but I'm saying the location
Well,
is viable.
and I,
Not need
yeah,
to move.
I
I,
think,
I like your thrust because also the viable idea also encompasses all the possible options.
Right.
Right.
It's viable, even more viable with these improvements. So-
and I think the other
Is
important point.
the location
Mhm.
is viable,
Right.
because that's not what was presented. That's why we exist.
So, you know, one of the big arguments was growth. To be able to support growth.
We've grown
Right.
so much in the last 20 years. I think, what, 10 people?
Okay, even if I discount projections, right, which we said in that original requirements document. If you just look at the map. Takes another 16 miles of road before we need another truck.
That ain't happening anytime soon.
No,
16 miles of road at 300 foot of frontage, what, I don't know how the numbers are in there, but
Yeah.
it basically you increase the population of Temple by another 50%. In order to use up
to
that,
justify.
those
yeah.
lots, right?
Yeah.
So until you do that. There's really, you don't need an expansion of facilities for,
What we currently have or what we may have.
I mean, think about that. This is a viable location, followed by that information.
Yeah.
You're gonna have everyone's attention real quick. And then you can get into the other stuff. I would present those.
those are just facts, right?
Those are so interesting.
Hate that.
Yeah, it's viable and for how long?
But you need 16 miles of road before you need the truck divided, you know.
Well, you really want to put
30,000, no, 80,000 linear feet? Am I doing that math right? 5,000 times 16? That's about 80,000 linear feet. Divided by, say, 400.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Are you gonna include the
2,000 homes.
picture of that Emily did that had the parking?
Okay,
There is a parking layout that, that Russ did.
Okay.
That shows what the potential parking for the.
with the block building
Right,
gone.
yeah.
You know, if you want to expect it, go down by the reservoir. There's two roads that were built in the late 90s. That was the last large subdivision with new roads built in Temple.
Sarah Drive.
Sarah Drive, which is the PRD. And in that road, that new road that circles back, has two entrances off 45. Is that maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile? Half a mile? And there's maybe 10 houses out in that
Right.
subdivision,
More than that.
maybe 12, well, other roads, so.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
Edmund Lane too.
yeah, Headland Lane. But my point is,
With 300 feet of frontage,
that wasn't even
a
a
mile of
road,
roadway
10
is
houses.
somewhere
So
between
you're saying
30,
16 of them.
30.
We would need 16 of those subdivisions to go in Temple, then need another truck.
495 to 575 homes. Call it 500 homes.
That we would
How many
have
do we
to-
have
you would
now?
to
Six
add-
hundred and seven, 70 or something.
You're about double the money.
Well, and then the other thing is any subdivision that is built in the future has to be a paved road.
Has to
So-
be paved road, so, those are conservative numbers, because these are, the utility. The efficiency of the highway department as we've calculated now is based on.
You have your little card, and this is like 16 miles, X number of subdivisions, so many more houses.
So. Yeah, and that's, that's not making a judgment about how we're gonna grow or not grow. That's the efficiency, given the efficiency of the highway department at its current location. You would have to have this many more miles of road in order to justify an additional full truck's worth of work.
Which means we don't have enough space right now. We'd have to build another garage. You could take another truck.
Probably build.
And you could, right? I mean, where the block building is now could be torn down and made into an insulated building, and as well as then you need at least part of an option 1, 2, 3, or whatever it is, but those
Well, I
are
mean,
all,
that-
they're all doable dues.
Cheaper than starting for all land.
So I like the general outline. I think we'll follow the annual report right up, essentially for the general outline, try and explain each of those things at the 30,000 foot level. Requirements, why this is viable, why it remains viable. Cost benefit. Of various options, cost benefit.
But of course, they may say like, no, just read us your boring report.
Yeah.
Give us all
They
the
may say
details,
what?
but They could say, give us your boring details right now.
Well, you did it, what do you have, 10, 15 minutes to do that?
Presentation is usually 15 minutes. So you'll have 15 minutes to present.
Oh, man,
When that article comes up to,
I can feel that.
well, actually, twice, there'll be, to hear the report.
Yeah.
Is 15 minutes, but then
Yeah.
the presenter of the petition warrant article, the presenter has 15 minutes as well.
Right. And that would go into the why we need to continue this work and what it's going to do for you next year, right? So I'll go light on that on our report. Other than to say that there is work to be done, we're not finished. And you'll hear more about that when the warrant is presented.
So the question on that would be, if you make the amendment to change it from the end of the, after the budget to up to one side. And and it happens, so you give your presentation, who is going to be doing the warrant article for, that, I mean, we need to
Yeah,
know.
so somebody. We
That
do
was
that.
Amy.
I'll do the warrant article.
Ah,
You know,
Hopefully, like I read the town report before I go to town meeting.
mhm,
And hopefully people are gonna have read this,
hopefully.
so they'll be knowing, they'll have an idea of what to expect, you know? And again, I think you did a great, it's great.
Yeah, again, I apologize for putting that out without consulting with the group as a whole. Carol had asked me probably 6 weeks prior to that, and it just totally went off my radar. And then she said, "Hey, I need this tomorrow morning." I said, "Yes, ma'am."
The only error I found was Huntley's name spelled wrong.
What's that?
The only error I found was Huntley's name
Ah.
spelled.
Oh,
So
darn.
he's gonna complain.
Yeah. Anything else, any other business for tonight? That's it for our agenda. So,
So I'll work hard to get the numbers finalized this week.
Yeah.
So we're gonna meet next Monday.
Yes, I'll have to work with Carol to figure out where we can meet.
Are we gonna get a look, see of the reports before we go to town meeting? I mean, you gonna-
That's what
Yeah.
next week is for,
Yeah,
to talk about it.
Oh, she's gonna have her report, I mean, there's the discussion, what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
my intent will to have the report mostly done, and Amy will have warrant
We've
article.
got the 11th, we got the 11th too.
Mhm.
Mhm. All right, good. All right, motion to adjourn. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, no one. Call the meeting to close at 7:10.
We did good.
We did.
So, David, you may know,